Hey friends, welcome to my life. My name is Ellen, entrepreneur, podcast host, and founder of Cubicle to CEO. Follow my journey to 7 figures as I work in the trenches to build my business empire and help you build yours. So I decided to do a branding shoot after Samantha reached out to me on Instagram, and she was telling me about, what she does. She's a creative director for personal branding shoots, and I had never previously invested in professional visual assets for my business specifically. And I think it's really important to do this because it's different than, going on a normal photo shoot with your friends and family for, your personal lifestyle type of shots. I think a business shoot or a branded shoot is very specific to your products and your services and telling a story about them. So I know when I was working with Samantha, she created a very specific shot list with different actions and different sceneries that matched what I either teach in my membership, Cubicle to CEO, or kind of showcasing what I do in my business on a day-to-day basis. So the experience of the photo shoot was incredible. We actually went to Florida and back to Oregon in, I think it was like 36 hours total. We were in Miami for, I believe, less than 24 hours. So we left on Friday morning, very, very early morning from Portland, flew into the Fort Lauderdale airport, and then Friday night was spent at the hotel just trying to get ready for the next day. And then Saturday we shot all day until like 3 p.m. It was a 5-hour shoot. And I went with 2 incredible girls, Felicia, who's my photographer, and Paige, who is my stylist. And they were absolute troopers. Like, thank goodness they were with me because we were all delirious by the end, traveling just from West Coast to East Coast and doing everything all in this short time span. And it was so much fun having them along with me as my travel partners. And Paige is just a genius when it comes to style. I so admire her eye for design and for putting things together. And she actually curated over 100 pounds of clothing. So we lugged 2 huge suitcases of clothing, all these amazing shoes that she had picked out from these different stores to match my my branding colors. So that was one of the things that we worked on before we ever did the shoot. Samantha and I picked out the colors that we really wanted present. So if you're doing your own branding shoot, one of my biggest recommendations is once you figured out your color palette, that you try to keep your wardrobe within that color palette so that all of your visual assets are seamless and they look branded. That's kind of the whole idea behind branding, is that it tells a cohesive story. So whether someone sees your image on your website or on your social media page or anywhere, they can immediately recognize that it's you, and those colors represent you and your brand. And also it's really great for when you're buying like statement pieces or accessories for either your office decor or for your shoot, accessories, props, whatever it may be. You can pick, specific colors that kind of pop out. So for example, blush pink was a huge color theme of my shoot. And so a lot of the props that we got were in the pink hues, and yellow, like a mustard yellow, was another big statement color. It's one that kind of like jumps out on camera a little bit more. So when Samantha was doing shopping for my accessories, my props, she was looking for those specific colors to, place in the different scenes to tie the whole thing together. So even if I'm wearing a different color shirt or a different outfit in each scene, there's a continuous thread when it comes to the color scheme throughout the entire shoot. I think it's really important to have a personal brand, because a huge issue I see with a lot of entrepreneurs is they try to hide behind their product or their service. And while I think it's really important to, build the reputation and the trust of your product or your service, I think ultimately people buy from people, and it's really important to understand that relationships drive business. And so you have to show yourself for people to be able to know, like, and trust you. And they can't do that if they don't get to know you. And another thing is thinking about the long term and the longevity of your business. I think that there's potential as you, go through your business journey that things may change. You may decide to offer different services, different products. You may even completely shift industries. That's actually very common. And when you do, the only thing that stays with you is your personal brand, your personal reputation, what you've built in relationships. So if you focus all your time and energy on only, promoting and building a brand around your products and services, what happens to that brand when those products and services may eventually go away? Then you're just left with yourself, and you have to essentially start from ground zero again to build something else. Whereas with your personal brand, it's very flexible. So for example, in my personal life, I didn't start out in business. I actually had no intention of ever being a business owner. It was kind of something that just happened and I went with it. But my friend Adrienne was telling me one time, she's like, I should start a podcast called The Accidental Entrepreneur. And I was like, that's so true, because I feel like 99% of entrepreneurs, come into their profession almost by accident, because they either have a really great idea or they see a problem that they want to solve and they, jump into an opportunity. So with my personal journey as an entrepreneur, when I was in college, I actually was a exercise science major. So going out of college, my passions were really fitness, health, and wellness. And so I built my online community around those topics and around those interests. And then a couple years down the journey, I was no longer as passionate about, creating fitness content 24/7. And if I had, gridlocked myself into that and wanted to transition out of fitness, I was able to, because I had built a personal brand and my community knew me and they followed me for me. So when I transitioned into entrepreneurship and talking about business, so when I started building content around entrepreneurship, I was able to take my audience with me on an entirely new journey. It's been so exciting. And that ability to reinvent yourself is why it's so important to build equity in your personal brand. So I would highly recommend that everybody invest in professional visual assets for yourself and your business, and especially a personal brand photo shoot like I did. It doesn't have to be over the top. It doesn't have to be expensive, or you don't have to fly across the country like I did. You know, the reason I chose to do that is because of the people that I was working with, and Samantha happens to be based in Miami. But I think for yourself, if you're looking to do a brand photo shoot, it's really important that you first assemble the right team. So I would hire a professional photographer and make sure that you look for one that specializes in lifestyle or portrait photography. Felicia is an amazing photographer in Oregon, and she, you know, specializes in wedding photography, senior portraits and whatnot, and she does lifestyle photography as well. So she was the perfect fit for this because I knew that her focus is, you know, shooting people, whereas some photographers, maybe their focus or specialty is, you know, commercial photography, product photography. Those are all very different things. So you just want to be sure that whoever you pick is someone who is used to capturing people and real lifestyle moments. And then the second thing is the rest of your team. So if you choose to style yourself, again, just make sure that you have a color palette in mind. Maybe you want to work with a graphic designer to help you doing a branding package, or maybe you can select your own colors that fit your personality. An amazing website I highly recommend is coolors.co. So coolors, COOLORS.co. They will create, like auto-generate a color palette for you, and you can lock in the ones that you want. So that it usually gives you 5 colors, and you can lock in the ones that you want and just keep clicking the space bar, and it will like rearrange the other ones until you find 5 that you like. You can also take a screenshot of, let's say, a painting or a piece of clothing or something that has the colors that you want, and then you can use their color generator to drag the cursor to the color that you want to pull out, and it will tell you the exact color code for it so that you can, you know, custom create your own palette, which is really amazing. So that would be my recommendation if you do not choose to go with a stylist. If you do go with a stylist, just make sure that they understand, you know, the purpose of the shoot, because it's not necessarily going to be the clothes that you wear every day or your normal street style or fashion. So a lot of the clothes that Paige curated for me are totally my style, in the sense that they are something that I love and would wear myself, but they are not necessarily, you know, the clothes that are sitting in my wardrobe. I normally wear like jeans and t-shirts and, you know, activewear. I'm very, very casual on a day-to-day basis, but these clothes were meant to tell a specific story. So you have to keep that in mind when you're working with a stylist, and to make sure that you really communicate to them that this is the look that you are trying to portray, or this is the type of story you're trying to tell. So a great example of this is the scene in my photo shoot when I was wearing the pink hard hat and the overalls. So obviously I'm not someone who wears overalls a lot. I actually don't own any overalls, but the purpose of that scene was to portray a part in my membership where I teach about identifying your ideal customer and their pain points and how you break down those walls, because, you know, the pain points that your customers experience are like these objections, these walls that they put up, and you are coming in with your product or your service as a solution to their problems, and you're breaking down those walls. So the hard hat was kind of like a fun play on that idea, and the overalls, you know, showing that you're working or, you know, doing some sort of like manual labor, just fitting that whole theme together. And so that outfit was curated with that specific topic in mind. So again, this kind of shows why the clothing that you buy has to be very intentional and match with the shot list. And that's another thing that I would highly recommend if you do a personal shoot, is to create a shot list, because the day of the photo shoot goes by like this. And even though we had 5 hours, I seriously felt like it was 30 minutes. We were go, go, go in between scenes. And if we didn't have a clear idea going into it of what we wanted to shoot, we wouldn't have gotten as much content as we did. So it's really important that you either work together with your photographer or you work together with your creative director, if you choose to go that route, to develop a specific list of scenes and types of shots that you want to get. And also make sure that when you are taking these photos, that you tell your photographer that you want photos in, you know, horizontal, that are wide images that you can use as hero images on your website, as well as, you know, close-up headshots for your LinkedIn profile and other uses, and just normal action lifestyle, like vertical photos that you can use for social. So just make sure you keep all the different places that these assets might be used on in mind when you are thinking about developing your shot list. And the last thing I would take into consideration when planning your personal shoot is your venue. So we shot at the Emery, which is a beautiful women's co-working space in Hollandale Beach, Florida, I think. It's in Florida somewhere. And it was gorgeous. They had so many different aesthetic backdrops for the shoot that perfectly matched my branding color palette. So it worked out great. But for yourself, I would really take into consideration what's a functional space you can use that has lots of different backdrops or a variety of scenery to create variety in your visual assets. Because the worst thing you could do is shoot somewhere where all of your photos have the exact same wall, the exact same props, because that does not create very much diversity. And we all know that when we're creating content, especially for social media, you want to try to have a wide range so that people are constantly feeling like they're getting new content. Even if you're repurposing the same content that you shot in one day for 6 months, you really want to make that stretch as far as it can go, because a personal branding shoot is an investment. So just keep in mind spaces that you can, really work around and be able to shoot in different places. Honestly, though, you can even kind of create it or stage it for yourself if you can't find a space like that. I know Samantha, who again was my creative director for the shoot, she's done so many personal branding shoots, and she's told me before that she's done really successful ones in literally just a small hotel room, but they were very, very intentional with their props and in finding, different corners or different ways to rearrange the furniture to make it seem like a new backdrop, even if it was in the same small room. So there is a way to get creative with it, but just make sure you go scout your location ahead of time and pick somewhere that really resonates with your whole brand aesthetic. Overall, this was the best time, and I really have the people to thank for that. Felicia and Paige, you guys are rock stars. Thank you for traveling with me and going on this crazy trip in 48 hours. You guys seriously did amazing, and I could not have done this without you. Paige and Felicia, you guys are my rock stars. You kept me awake. You helped my flyway stay in place. You taped a million shoes. Felicia, that was you. And Paige, just the amount of effort and time and love you poured into this, I cannot ever thank you guys enough. Also, it was so incredible working with Samantha, Tanira, who was the set assistant that day, and just everyone's hype team, the best girl, and Mai, who was my amazing and talented makeup and hair artist that day. You guys all just helped put this together, and I seriously, again, could not have asked for a better experience. If you guys want to check them out, their links are below. Go give them a follow, go say hi, go work with them. They're all incredible women. And yeah, this was just one of those things where I'm so glad that I invested in it. I know I'll be doing it again as my business continues to change and grow. And I can't wait to continue taking you guys with me behind the scenes on some of these fun things that I get to do in my business. If you guys like these follow me around or day in a lifestyle type of videos, let us know in the comments so we can know what kind of content to film for you. And if you enjoy this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up button, subscribe so you don't miss out on new episodes, and we'll see you in the next one.